Hello, everyone, or should I say bonjour. Welcome to tonight's Storytime at 9. Once again, we are here with by traveling to another country, and today it's France, and we have one of the finest storytellers, Jean Guillon, here with us, and he'll be telling us stories. But I'll tell you what is special about today. Uh, a few years back, many of you are in Bhubaneswar. We are based in Bhubaneswar. I'm sitting at the Bakula Library in Satyanagar. Some of you who've been regulars must be thinking, where am I? Well, this is another room in the library. You've been used to seeing me in another room, in the room for small children, where there were paintings and all on the walls. This is the section for older children and adults. So the books are like this. But it's the same library in Satyanagar in Bhubaneswar. Now, a few years back, some of you would remember that there was this festival that started on the streets called Rahagiri, or which later was renamed as Pathotsav. So when Rahagiri started, Bakul was there from the very first edition, and we were doing something which was new in Bhubaneswar that time, that was storytelling on the streets. We had a library on the road. Sunday morning, early morning, the roads were closed on Janpath, and we had a library on the road, and we used to tell stories. But then, later we discovered that there was someone who had taken storytelling on the streets to another art, and that is Jean. When I saw some of the photos, I was like, zap. I said, wow, you can also do it this way. But he is a person with a multi-arts background, with a background in circus, in theater, in music, and he does a lot of out-of-the-box, wacky, very interesting stuff. And he's going to tell you stories today. But before we have him tell stories, I hope all of you know that we do this every Sunday. So every Sunday we are live at 9 p.m. in which we travel to a country, and then in many of those storytellings, the storyteller asks you to do something, gives you a task. The last Saturday, we had traveled to South Africa with Bongiswa, and Bongiswa had given a task to those of you who viewed the storytelling, and she asked you to sing along with her the story and to send the videos to our contact email, contact@bakula@gmail.com. You have the email here. Whenever you have to contact us, you have this email, contact@bakula@gmail.com. Now, there were some children who sang that song, Bongiswa, the song that Bongiswa sang. I would like to thank Rajveer, Ayushman, and Swayam Prabha. They sent their videos to us. So we'll just see the videos first before we get into the storytelling.
Bichosa, bichosa, can you join me? Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichosa, bicho, bichosa, bicho. Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichosa, 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 bicho. Bichal bichala cha, bichal bicha. Bichal bichala cha, bichal bicha. Bichal bichala cha, bichal bicha. Thank you.
Well, thank you once again, Rajveer, Ayushman, and Swayam Prabha. And even if the storyteller does not give you a task, if you are doing anything that the storyteller is doing, or if you record yourself while watching the video, participating in the storytelling, do send us those videos again to contact@bakul@gmail.com. We would love to see them. We would love to share it with our storytellers, and we would love to show them as well. So thank you very much. And one of the things, I have said this earlier also, and I will tell you, France is also a special country for us because, when we started the library in 2007, 1 year into it, we started storytelling from around the world. And but then we didn't have wonderful storytellers like Jean with us, so we were limited by whoever visited Bhubaneswar and could come down to our library. But then we had people from different countries telling stories, and I think I've told you earlier that our library has been set up entirely with people donating books. Okay, every single book has been donated. And many of these storytellers went back and brought us their books from their country. So, in most of the storytelling sessions, if I'm able to show you books from different countries, it is because of these storytellers who have gifted us these books. And the first French storyteller that we had, Stephanie, she was a volunteer here. She was not a professional storyteller, but then her uncle was a major publisher in France, and he sent us all their titles. So actually in India, one of the best collections of French picture books. I have an entire shelf. I can't show them. These are just some of them. We have an entire shelf full of French picture books. So those of you who study French, I could see many children writing bonjour. If you know a little more than that, and you would like to read French picture books, actually one of the best places in the country is our library here. So those of you who are not from Bhubaneswar, you're welcome to visit Bhubaneswar and come down to our library, where of course things get better. But then I'll tell you, one of our storytellers earlier on, Margaret Reid Mcdonald, some of you may have seen her video, or you can always see it, a fantastic storyteller. And she is a very prolific author as well of folk tales from around the world. Now, after she told stories and heard the story of Bakul, she has sent us all her books. So those are also books that you can check out at the library. So we'll see a little video on that. Just got this treasure from Margaret Reid Mcdonald. All books written by her. So how many books are there? Start guessing. The first one, Beast Tales. Earth Care. A Palestinian folk tale. Now this is probably Chinese, from the Dragon Palace. Now Mabella. Conejito from Panama. Arabic counting tale. This is another picking peas. A Balinese folk tale. A Danish folk tale. From Thailand. Now the wishing foxes. I don't know from where. Bye. Tough duck. We heard the story. Ooh. Three. 6, 7, and around 15 books. You almost. Well, we don't need to see all the books there, but as you saw, that's how the library has been developed, with people donating books. So you can donate your books as well. Now, I won't take more time. It's been a lot of time already. Over to Jean. But before that, please, if you like the video, if you like these sessions, please like our Facebook page if you're seeing it there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're seeing it there. And please share the video so that, your friends also get to know. And our storytellers would be delighted, and we'll be delighted that you really enjoyed. And of course, you know that there are questions after Jean's storytelling. So over to Jean now.
Hello, dear friends. Well, we are not yet friends, but we have to meet, to know each other, to become friends. Listen, about France, this is a very much centralized country. Every important administrations are in Paris. But Paris is not all France, If France is very centralized, it is because of its history. Listen, but I am not in Paris. I am in Marseille. That means in the south, close to the Mediterranean Sea, which is a little sea but very important for our culture because our culture is born in Mediterranean area. And because I am in Marseille, I will tell you the story of the beginning of Marseille, according to the Greeks. Because before the Greeks, there were some people living here in Marseille. These people were Celtic people. It is another culture, I would say, which is not quite the same than the Greeks. The Greeks, when they came, they started to install commercial divisions and negotiate with the inhabitants of this country, which is now Marseille. And at that time, the chief of this village was named Nanos. And Nanos had to marry his daughter. But at that time, in this particular country, the woman chose her husband. This is very different. That means that the woman was very powerful because she was the daughter of the chief of the village and the surroundings. And she will say who will be the next chief. It will be her husband. And the custom was they did a very big banquet. They invited all the important persons, other chiefs, surrounding tribes, and also they invited these Greek people who came recently on the shore, and they have been installed there, and they did commercial business. And the story wants that the daughter of the chief, her name was, what was her name? I will tell it soon. And she came and she had to offer a drink to her beloved, who will be her husband. And she chose the Greek man. And then Marseille became Greek. But when the Greek, they came in Marseille at that time, they knew that people who were living there worship a woman, a goddess. So they brought.
Jean, a little louder. I think there's some who saying that they're having problem in hearing. A little louder. Yeah, thank you.
Have you heard the beginning? That's all right like this?
I think you can continue, but yeah, a little closer to the mic. Yeah, thank you.
And it is all right like this? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me continue. So this daughter chose the Greek man. And so Marseille became Greek. But it is very different because the Greek people, they don't worship the woman. They worship Zeus, a male god. And then it started another culture. But the Celtic found remained there. In France, there is another Celtic country. What remains of Celtic culture is in Brittany. Let us travel through France. If you go to Marseille, so can you show us a picture of France? Can you show it? Hello? Great. So you see France. Marseille is in the south, close to Mediterranean Sea. And Brittany is on the west. It is like a arm stretched in the ocean, to say hello to America, hello to other countries, This is Brittany, up on the left of the picture. And there is nowadays the main place of Celtic culture, which was before in center of France and close to Paris, but not in Paris, near France and Belgium. This was the main part of Celtic culture, which immigrates now to Brittany. And in Brittany, there is a strange story. The story of a woman, a young woman, who had a beloved man. They loved each other, but after a while, they changed their mind. And she loved another man. But the other man said to her, "Let us be married." She said, "Okay." And they decided for a date. But the day before came the first lover and said, "Tonight we will marry." Well, she was amazed. Then she said, "Wait, I will change my cloth. Let me go in my room." She went in her room, but she never came back. She rushed out of the window with her cover, a blanket on her shoulders, and she ran into the forest all during the night. And before the end of the night, she rises a house. There was a light in the house, and all the house was green in the middle of the forest. She knocked at the door, and the man opened the door. He was dressed in green, and he has a very mysterious face. He looked very severe and said to this woman, "Who are you? What do you want here in the middle of the forest?" She said her story. She said what happened to her. And now he said, "Well, what do you want? Do you want to be lost in the forest, or do you want to remain by me? If you remain by me, you will do all what a woman does in a house. That means you will cook, you will wash, and everything." She said, "Okay, I will do that." And she started working for little money. But she has no other way to go. So she started cleaning, washing, and cooking. Everybody knows that. But she saw that every night at half round midnight, the master of the forest disappeared to come back just before the day. She was amazed, and she asked her, "What is this purpose? What does he do?" And the women, they want to know, and they are right. So what did she do? One night, when the master of the forest went out from far, she followed him into the forest, and he went in the direction of the village. But there is a place where the path was in two directions, and the man did not go to the village, but he went to the church. And around the church, there was a churchyard, and she could hear the door of the churchyard opening. She followed him silently, and she saw him busy with the corpses. Amazed, she ran back to the house, but at a moment, her shoe went under a tree, on a root, and was blocked on the root. She could not put it out. So, doesn't matter. She left the shoe and rode away up to the house and slept. Later on come the man, and in the morning, as if it were nothing, she served breakfast, as usually. Milk, some dishes. But the master of the forest said to her, "Oh, I see. Where is your missing shoe?" And she answered, "Well, I lost it when I was working with the geese." Uh-huh. In that case, you don't need your 2 feet. If you don't bring it back tomorrow, I will cut your foot. What a strange day she had. Thinking of it, impossible to go and take her shoe. What to do? She wanted to cut her foot. You will do the same, for sure. So, at night, when the master went out, she rushed out of the house. And she didn't went in the direction of the village, of course, but in the opposite direction. She ran and ran and ran and ran up to the morning. Very tired, she joined a big house. In the fairy tales, big house, we call them castle because they are tales. And a castle is a big house. She knocked at the door, which opened, and the woman said to her, "What do you want?" But she answered, "I would like to work in your house." "How? What do you know? What kind of job can you do?" "Well," I said, "I can clean everything, wash the dishes and cloth and can prepare food." "Okay, step in. We need people." So she started working, and she was very much appreciated because she was silent, discreet, and made no stories because she left so heavy things that she knew that listen is better than to speak. But the son of the master of this house saw her so silent, so wise, he felt in love with her. And he asked to his father, "Father, this woman who is just in our house recently, I'm in love with her." "So," said the father, "no problem. She looks wise. You can be married with her." "Thank you, Dad." Then he rushed and asked her, "Please, I'm in love with you. Won't we marry?" So she answered, "Don't make me crazy. You know, the rich people, they don't marry poor people. Don't pull my leg." "No, no," said the man. "Trust me. My father said yes." "Oh," she said, "in that case, we marry right now." You know, at that time in France, well, I don't know if we can hear. There is, no, you cannot hear. There is a clock ringing, a bell ringing. And the bells are used also in churches for weddings. And that day, the bells rang for the wedding of the young man and this nice woman. And 1 year after, you get it? there was a child, and it was a boy, and everybody was happy, and the family was happy, you know. Oh, such a great, great, great moment. And when the night is coming, the child is in its place, you know, the family place for the children. And the woman, the mother, young mother, is in her bed. She is as white as the blanket because, you know, it's such a job to make a child for a woman that she was exhausted. And round the basket in which there was the cradle in which was the child, there was the old woman saying, "It is a beautiful baby." "Oh, yes, a beautiful baby," said the other old one. "Another beautiful baby." But the old women start sleeping round the cradle. And at the mid of the night, the door of the room opened and came in the man dressed in green. Said the young mother, "Oh, my master, you came for the birth of my first baby. It's very nice. I thank you very much." He approached to her and said, "Well, I am not here to discuss. Just tell me, where do you left your shoe?" And she answered, "Well, I lost it when I was curing the geese." "Uh-huh," said the man. "Too bad for you." And he took the child in the cradle and went out without a noise. But in the morning, when the old women they saw the cradle empty, they start shouting, "Ah! She's a witch! She'll be eating her child!" And they shouted and shouted. And everybody cries and shouted, "She's a witch!" It was not true. Only one man said, "No, she's not a witch. She's my wife. And I love her. Please stop." "A child is a child. We will have another one." And it was true. A year after, another baby, another boy. Everybody was happy, but it was not the same atmosphere, we can say. You know why? And the night coming, the mother is in her bed, tired, very much tired, and, not very much quiet. And there is a child in the cradle, and round the cradle, the old women. "Yes, for sure. It's a very beautiful baby." "But what will happen?" "Oh, yes. What will happen? I'm asking. What will happen?" And the old women started sleeping, surrounding the cradle. And at the middle of the night, you know what? He came back, dressed in green. He approaches to the mother, who said nothing. He spoke first and said, "Answer to me. Where have you left your shoe?" And she looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I lost it when I was taking care of the geese." "Too bad for you." He took the child and disappeared. In the morning, can you imagine these women, how they shouted? And the one who shouted the more was the one who wanted to marry her daughter to the son of the boss. You know why she was shouting so much. She was jealous, that's all. But the husband defended her wife and said, no, she's not a witch. She's my wife. I know her and I love her. Leave her in peace, please. We'll get another child. And he was right. A year after, they've got another child. Well, the atmosphere in the house was not the same, you can imagine. But well, it was a child in his cradle, and the mother in her bed, and the old woman round the cradle, and every round old woman, they did the commentary about the child. And after that, they fall asleep, obviously. And at the mid of the night, yes, he came back. She said, what do you want? Why do you persecute me? And he said, I have only one question to you. Where do you left your shoe? Then she looked at him right in the eyes and said, I lost it and I was taking care of the geese. Too bad for you, said the man. Then he took the child, but he had blood. And he put blood in the cradle and blood on the bed of the woman and went out. In the morning, it was very different, because that time there was blood. So nobody could, even her husband, could do nothing. She was put in jail. And people start making a long, very bad thing. They decided, after a long time of process, when she was in jail, that she has to be hanged. Yes, you heard well. But it took time. To take the decision. And when it was decided, that very day, in front of the castle, they did a stage, a horrible stage, with a tree like that, to hang people. And she was put out of her jail. And when they put the rope round of her neck, then a big noise. Yes, comes a horse, 4 horses with a cart, coming with big noise, close to the place. And went out of this the master of the forest, dressed in green, coming in front of the woman who was ready to be hanged. And looking at her, he said, where are you left your shoe? And she answered, looking him in the eyes, I left it when I was taking care of the geese. And then the man became smiling, shining. He put this ugly rope out of her neck, helped her to come down, and say to her, you saved me. there was a curse on me. And this curse could go back only if a woman can say her truth in front of the death without fear. And you had not fear of me. And because of that, you made me free. You are a woman without fear. That means you can be a fairy. And see, he cut in his hand and went out of his cart 3 young boys, very well dressed. And he said, these are your sons. And he said, hello, husband, come, see your wife and your 3 sons. They are the most beautiful and the most live people, lightning people, because your wife is the best wife of the life. She has no fear. Then there is one thing to do, is to make disappear this old woman who wants to marry his daughter with you. And so the family was reunited and they still live together if they are not dead. And that's the end of the first story. This is a typical, very typical Celtic story. Now we will see a Celtic place that is the side 1. Ah no, this is Marseille. I forgot to show you this first slide. I'm sorry. But that is very interesting. You know, the Celtic culture gives a very big importance to the woman, to the women. And the Greeks, not. The Greeks, they are men, husbands, and strength is for them. But when they came in Marseille, these Greeks, they knew that they were Celtic people. So they brought with him a goddess. Okay? And when Marseille became a Greek city, they put this goddess at the entrance of the harbor on a hill in a temple. And when the temple was open, all the navigators, when they arrived in the harbor, they could see the statue of the goddess in first. And it is still true, because this church is at the top of a hill in Marseille. And you can see from everywhere she's gone. She's named the Good Mother, La Bonne Mère. The Good Mother, La Bonne Mère in French. And for the navigators, it's very important because you can see her from far. And she welcomes all the people coming to Marseille. Even if you come by the high road from north or west, you can see her first. She still protects Marseille, and Marseille is still protected by a woman like it was in the Celtic time. About Celtic people, let us see slide 2. This is the end of Brittany. You have a lighthouse and you have a boat. And this is very important for Brittany because it is in front of Atlantic Ocean, which is a very big ocean. And the sea is important for Brittany because, as I told you, it is like an arm stretched in the sea, the arm of France which goes in the sea. And the earth is important too. Let us see the third slide, please. Aha! What is this? This is Karnak. Not Carnatic, Karnak. Karnak is like Stonehenge. There are big stones in a field which were dressed up by Celtic people. And these stones are probably magic and used by Celtic priests for capture energy and God wisdom. And if you continue to travel to France, you will see different countries. I mean, in the center of France, it is not Paris. It is the following slide. Yes, you see mountains, but old mountains. This is the central of France, which has old volcanoes. But now these volcanoes does not anymore split fire. It is a very nice and desertic country, which is called Massif Central. It means central hills. There are hills much more young, which are the age of your Himalayan mountains, but they are not so high. First, you will see the other slide, which are Pyrenean mountains, which are in the southwest of France. Then there is very much water, and it is a young mountain. And behind this mountain, there is Spain, which is another European country. Another young mountain is the mountain of Alps. It is the next slide. It is a part of it. And here you can see the highest mountain of Europe, which is the Mount White, le Mont Blanc. But it is only 4,000 and something meters high, not so high as the Everest mountain, but very, very important mountain, because on the other side of it, you have Switzerland and Italy. And in Italy, you have a good friend of mine whose name is Giovanna Conforto. You know her because you heard before. And, well, that's enough for the slides. Thank you. Thank you. Why do I speak so much about mountains and stones? Oh, this is another story. There is a village called Manosque. Manosque, yes, in Provence. And it's a very old one. And long time ago in Manosque, there was a guy whose name was Pierrot. Pierrot, the English name of Pierrot is Peter. But, you know, Pierrot is a nickname of Pierre. And Pierre in French means stone. Oh, amazing. He was stone carving. He works on stone. And his name was Stone. Ha! And he was very well known. But he was very well known because he was very good in his job. And he was very good in his job because he had a secret. Yes. He has two magic tools. And when he gave tack, tack, tack on a stone, he went into the stones. Into the stones. It was very nice when you work stones to go into the stones. So you know the structure inside of it. And into the stones, you can imagine it is not like everyday's life. Of course. Because first you have no sunshine. For sure. But you have light. Yes. A gloomy light. Very amazing. With thousands little spots, like you see the stars in the sky, but a little more dense, which gave a kind of light. But if you have no sunshine, you have no time in the stones. And if you have no time, you have no space. And how do you travel if you have no space? Into the stones. To travel, that's very simple. You have just to think about the place you want to go, and hop, here you are. It's magic, and very well when you work into the stones. But there are some disagreements, of course. The first one is very easy to understand. When you go into a place where there is no time, and when you come back home, take care. Don't make the mistake of the day. I explain. For instance, you come on a Monday out of the time. You have to go out in the same day. If you go in another day, it is not fixed. So what to do? Very simple. You come back into the out of time, and then you try again till you find the hello, that's a good day, and then it works. Well, but there is another problem. When you go into a stone and when you come back home, Pierrot was full of dust, a very thin and white dust, and it took him time to take it out of his cloth, and it was full over in his house. And because of that, he used not to come back very often into the stones. Because of this, this possibility of change of day, and this other dust, which was very boring. But he came sometimes for the work into the stones, for sure. One day, when he was into the stone, he heard music. Music into the stones? How can it be? So he went in the direction from where came the music, and he saw an old man sitting, the eyes closed. So he sat next to the man and listened to the music, which was so beautiful, but which stopped because the old man opened the eyes. And then Pierrot asked him, well, from where come this music? Can I hear out of the stones? And where can you find it? But the old man said nothing, closed again the eyes, and then started again the music, which was so delightful that Pierrot thought this music makes turn the word, so it is harmony. And the music stopped again. Why? Because the old man opened the eyes. But that time, he spoke first. And the old man said to Pierrot, this music is there because you are there. Then he closed again his eyes, and the music started again. But at that time, Pierrot had very much work, and so he was tired. And what happens when you are tired and you hear music? You fall asleep. And that happened to Pierrot. He fell asleep. And when you awake, there was nobody else and no more music. So he came back home. That day, he did not change the day. He came right in the good day. And there was very few dust, this white dust. But the music he heard into the stone, came into his heart, and he wanted to hear it again. It was so beautiful, but how to do? At that time, long time ago, there was no iPhone, even uh, no CDs, no videos, nothing. The only music you can hear at that time is the music in the street which was played. And the people invited musicians in the house to delight with them the music. And that was the case in Manosque, where lived Pierrot. But the musicians, after doing music by people, they used to come at Pierrot's house. Yes, because he invited them and said him to play, and he played with them, always trying to find this music he had in his heart, and he loved so much. And also, he created a music instrument, yes, with pieces of stones, big like different size, with a little hammer. He makes music on these little stones, you know. Okay, life goes on, and Pierrot met more and more musicians, and they came and they did music sessions during nights and nights. But after a while, someone invited Pierrot to build a church, a cathedral in France, which is called Cathedral of Chartres. Chartres is another part of France, very far from Manosque. So it took time to go there. And it took time to build the most important stone, because it is the keystone which stopped and make the whole church standing on. It's very important to be done. And he realized it very well, because the stone is still there and the church is still there. He realized a masterpiece, and he was very well happy. And he has got a lot of money for that. And he came back home. But at that time, I tell you, you can go with a car or a plane or I don't know what, because there was no car, no bicycle even. You just travel by peasants or merchants on their carts and go from town to town, and it took time. And before coming in his home, he thought, well, the towns are too noisy to me. I want to go back wandering. And he left a town called a little town close from his house. At that time, when just in France now, when the sun comes back, sunset is coming. So what happens in sunset? The peasants, they bring back the cows and sheep to the houses, and the rays of the sun amongst the feet and the legs of the cows makes some rays of gold. It makes a beautiful design on the earth. And Pierrot was looking amazed by these designs of the sun in the dust, when he saw on the other side of the road a strange man. He was dressed in green silk, must be rich, and his skin was dark, and he had a blue light round of him, and something in his belt like a stick, but it was not a stick. And Pierrot asked him, "What is this fellow? Cannot be a shepherd. He's so well dressed. Cannot be a soldier either. Must be a musician, but a king's musician to be so well dressed." And Pierrot because he liked musicians. He wanted to see him, and he went through the cows and sheep to go on the other side of the road. But when he arrived there was nobody else, just a little path going into the forest. So Pierrot went into the forest, and he saw in a wide place a man playing flute, standing with a blue light round of him. You Indian people, you have heard of this fellow. But for Pierrot, it was the first time. But he recognized the music of the flute. It was the music he heard into the stones. So he was against a tree, to hear the music. And what? The tree was resonating, was making the echo with the music. Even the grass was dancing with the music, and the birds singing with the music too. Pierrot was so amazed that he sat down and he lied in the grass to hear this beautiful music with such a delightful feeling. But he was traveling a lot and he was tired. And when you are tired and you hear music, what happens? He fell asleep. And when he awake, there was nobody else and no more music. So by night, he came back home. But he knew that he heard the most beautiful music you can find all over the world. And this music is silence. I suppose you've heard thy silence, which is the end of the story.
Well, I think all of you enjoyed the stories. We are almost 1 hour up. I think we'll take quickly some questions. So, Jean, there are some questions that children asked from before. Let me ask those. Athira is asking, which is the most famous festival of France?
The most theater festival. Well, I don't know if the term festival is not the same that in India. In India, a festival is a festival for gods, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, not in
But
France.
we also celebrate other, now, of course, we're celebrating other kinds of festivals. Yeah.
Well, and dance and music and performing arts festival.
Yeah. Cultural festivals.
Performing art festival, the most famous in France, is the Festival of Avignon, which is a city in south of France, which was before, long time ago, the Pope's city. And it is surrounded by walls. And this is the most famous theater festival. But the festival for children is a Christian festival, which is Christmas time.
So children look forward to Christmas?
Pardon me? Can you repeat? Can you repeat?
Yeah. So Swagatika is asking, which is the most famous food in France?
All the food is famous in France because France is supposed to have a gastronomy. And gastronomy is the art of making food. And you have many, many famous food and many famous restaurants and I like to cook too. But the cook you make at home is called canaille cook. Canaille cooking. Canaille makes a beggar, you know, bandit food.
Mhm.
That means a family food, which is the best.
So I think Sudiksha had asked this question about you've been to India a lot. Which Indian food do you like the most?
What do I like the most?
Which Indian food?
Aha! uh, I like all the Indian food. South Indian diet, I like very much. Uh, I like a funny thing, idli. Idli.
Idli. Okay.
Idli. You know idli in South India?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very much. That's a funny thing. You cannot find it in France. But also all the Indian dishes I like. When I am in front of a thali, I am a happy man.
Ah, so you enjoy the thalis.
I do.
Okay. Swagatika was also asking what is famous other than food?
Ah, good question. Other than food in France, we have an old tradition of theater, music, dance, and painting, and also architecture. I am living in a house who is made by an architect who is known in India too. His name is Le Corbusier, who did Chandigarh. You have heard of it? In any way, it is. It is of. He was dead not so many time ago, and he was a precursor of buildings made of concrete.
So when I'll tell you my town of Bhubaneswar, where most of our viewers also are from, I grew up as a child hearing from everyone that Le Corbusier had designed Bhubaneswar, but that's not true. It was another German architect, but that is what everyone told us. That see Chandigarh and Bhubaneswar were designed by him. Okay. Swadha wants you to visit India with your stories, but you already have, right? So can you tell us a little about your India experience? By the way, I must tell you guys that Jean's organization is called Association Ganesh.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Absolutely. Why?
Yeah.
It's
so
only
please tell us
because,
your India connection.
because, yes, that's a big connection for me. Because Ganesha is a protecting artist. And he's the memory of the word. He wrote the Vedas, as you know. And because of that, my association, which regulates my work on the legal way, is named Ganesha. And I've been very often in India. I lived in Mumbai. I lived in Srinagar. I lived in Madras, which is called now, which is no more Madras. It is, how do you call Madras now? Please help me.
Chennai.
Chennai. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It could not come back. I'm sorry. And I used to make shows with an Indian dancer of Bharatnatyam. But I've heard Orissa dance also.
Yeah.
Orissa dance is very beautiful. I like it very much. And in Orissa, is there also some gypsies?
Yeah. Okay. So Rohan Lal is asking, who were the first tribes in France?
Who what?
The first tribes, who were the original tribes in France?
Ah, Celtic. Celtic tribes.
So that's the story that you heard.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay. Anvesha is asking, why is French such a famous language in the world?
Because it is very difficult. And we have very, very big poets. And you know, there is an important thing I want to say you. France is very much centralized, I told you, in Paris. And then the French way of speaking, the French language, is the only one spoken. That's a pity, because every country has its own language. In south of France, There is a huge part of south of French speaking Languedoc, speak of Oc, the meaning of it. And every Brittany has another language, Alsace another language. And it's very important. If your country has a language, please keep it, speak it, write with it, make poetry with the language of your town, of your village, because this diversity is something like life. It's beautiful.
Lakshmi is asking, what is the time in France right now?
Exactly 6:30.
So they're 3.5 hours behind us. So
Yeah.
6:30 now. Right. Tapas is asking for the meaning of the colors of the French flag.
Of course. There are many different knowledge about it. One was the white was the color of the king. Previously, there was a king in France, and blue and red. The colors blue, white, and red. And the king was supposed to unite white and red. Excuse me, someone is ringing on my bell. I have to open because it's very late. So, and you know, as in the stories, every meaning is like steps up like this. Beyond the words, you have another meaning. Don't forget it and try to find it.
Okay. So I think the last set of questions, Sai Shubham is asking, which is your favorite Indian story or Indian book? And Krish is asking about your favorite book.
There is an Indian poet who made also movies, but I forgot his name. Dommage. That's a pity. Well, Indian tales, I like them very much. Stories about Krishna, stories about Rama, and the both big stories of India. I know them and I like them. And there is also a nice book which is called Panchatantra.
Yes.
I like it very much. Excuse me, I must go open. I'm back again.
Okay. And otherwise, your favorite book?
About India story?
No, in general.
In general, you know, it's very difficult to say. You know, I like an Indian English writer whose name is Charles Dickens. Very important because he shows at his epoch how do the people had to live. It was the beginning of industrial epoch, and the poor people were very, very bad condition. And he only said to the other people what was happening to them, and that's very important. That was something.
So
But you have also a French author called Jean Guillon, who wrote some beautiful things. Jean Guillon.
Now, since we asked this question, now this is a question I'm going to ask each of you also. Please take a photo of yours with your favorite book and mail it to us. Where? To contact bakul@gmail.com. Yes, the same email ID. Please take a photo of your favorite book with yourself, with your face, and send it to us. We'll end now. I know it's dinner time. And Jean, I was telling you, it is a Dashera right now time, you know, the big festival going on right now. So everyone is in the festive mood. So must be a special dinner at home. It's already past 10 at night now. Here, we won't take.
Okay,
Yeah, you saying something, Sean?
enjoy. And you see, by us, The night is coming. You see the light is going down. Bye-bye, friends.
Yeah. Goodbye. But before that, a clue about the country that we'll travel to next Sunday. So the next Sunday, we'll just see this image. Can we have the image, please?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So next Saturday is going to be Halloween.
Yeah.
But then, in which, as is the belief, the ghosts of the dead, return to earth. But in this country that we are going to travel to next Saturday, Halloween is followed by a festival, a very big festival called the Day of the Dead. Which country is it that we are going to travel to? Again, mail us your answers to contactbakul@gmail.com. So which country has a special celebration around the Day of the Dead? And we are going to travel to this country right before the Day of the Dead. And you'll be part of those celebrations. So that's it. Let us have back now. Yeah. So we end here again. Please do not forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a comment, share the video, and also give your feedback. There's a feedback form there. Please give your feedback so that we get to know what you like, what you didn't like, what you look forward to. For example, we actually reached out to Jean because one of the children, she approached us, requested us, can we have a storyteller from France? She was very curious to, travel to France virtually with us. So that's how we did it. And in fact, what we're going to do next time is something that increasingly we'll do, where we'll try to make you a part of the festivals of those countries. So that is, so it was interesting that we had a discussion about festivals in France as well. So thank you so much. And how do I say that, Jean? Au revoir?
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Okay. Au revoir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Please. Only
And
one thing.
of course, tomorrow. Sorry.
Only one thing. Children, don't be glued to the screens. Life. It's much more vivid and interesting.
Of course. Definitely. And tomorrow again, it is Rabi Bar, Goppo Bar, in which there will be stories in Oriya, again at the same time, same place. See you then. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.
In education that we are trying to promote reading. As statistics say, if 50% children in grade 5 cannot read the textbook of grade 2, then what is really happening? That's because the basic skills of reading and writing is not there. So we thought that if we have to change this cynicism, then we need to demonstrate what is possible with small contributions. So that is the idea basically that Bakula is trying to demonstrate, what is possible entirely with volunteerism, entirely with small little contributions. We asked people to contribute books to set up a public library in Bhubaneswar, and a children's library was set up in Bhubaneswar, and now that children's library has become a general library, a public library with more than 20,000 books. So that is one of the major things. Another major area of intervention is environment. A lot of environmental education, but through films and through creative methods. So we have a traveling film festival on environment. We go to schools, colleges, apartments and screen films on environment, primarily on climate change and on issues of water and sanitation, two issues that we're working in. And at the libraries also, we conduct a lot of workshops on creativity. We all want the world to be a better place, and we have our own ideas of how it can be better. The thing is, can we all start in some small way towards addressing that? Can we say that in some small way, this world is the way I want it to be because I have done something about it?